all know this moment when it's the last scene of a great movie or show. Suddenly the screen fades into black and we hope it's a transition. Maybe a long pause, but no, the credits start rolling. Well, I'm just finished watching the movie Ladybird, and as always, when I watch a great movie, I'm left with that strange feeling of emptiness. There's suddenly this void where this show or movie used to be. It's like a part of my life has just been quietly taken away. Isn't it interesting how this fictional story can become such a big part of our lives that when it's over, it feels like something more than just entertainment has ended? We've spent hours and days, maybe even years, living in this other world, living with these characters, and now we're just thrown back into reality, but reality feels a little bit duller than before. It's not just the plot and the characters, it's the entire experience. It's the emotions we've shared, the journey we've been on. And all of a sudden it's all over and all you can think of is, what now? As I was watching Ladybird, I found myself deeply connecting to the main protagonist, Christine, or Ladybird as she likes to call herself. There was something so relatable about her struggles, about her desire to be seen and to be loved and to find her place in this world.
Yale, but not Yale because I probably couldn't get in.
You definitely couldn't get in. Part of my job is to help you be realistic.
Yeah, it seems like everyone's job.
We often think of these characters as just fictional, just people on the screen, but they can become a part of our lives, a part of us. Their journey reflects part of our lives back to us in a way that can feel so personal, so real. These connections, they're real emotional investments. When your favorite character in the show cries, maybe you cry. When they laugh, maybe so do you. It's like they became a friend whose journey we were deeply invested in. This is what's known as a parasocial relationship. It's a one-sided relationship where we, the audience, develop real emotions and attachments with characters or public figures. These relationships can give us comfort, a feeling of security, or maybe even inspiration. We see a bit of ourselves in these characters, and that's why it hurts so much sometimes when their story ends. It's in a way like a part of our own story ends too. These relationships, even though they're one-sided, aren't inherently bad, as long as you don't lose touch with reality, of course. In fact, they can even be really enriching. They can show us parts of ourselves that maybe we're not even aware of, or they can give us a sense of friendship or companionship in times where we're a little bit lonelier in our lives. When that story ends, it's like saying goodbye to a friend. It's a feeling of loss, not unlike what we feel when maybe a friend moves away or friendship fades, someone in your life passes away, just on a different scale. This feeling of loss is a form of grief. It's a reminder that all things we hold dear will come to an end eventually, whether that's a friendship, a story, or a chapter in our lives. And letting go has never been easy. Sometimes the worst feeling is not even that feeling of loss, but it's when a show you've been deeply invested in just has an open ending, gets cut off mid-season, or has no continuation, or has a last episode with a rushed, terrible ending. This feeling can just leave you like you've been cheated on. You've been on this journey for so long, you've invested so much time and emotion only to have it taken away by an unsatisfying conclusion. I've noticed that after I finished a story that deeply resonated with me, there's a period of sadness. I know it sounds dramatic, But it's true. There's a reason why people talk about post-series depression or feeling lost after a show or a story that they've really resonated with comes to an end. These stories, these characters, these other worlds, they have filled a space in our life that now feels empty. And just like in real life, it's important to grieve that loss. Grief is something that can't be rushed. You can't just push it away and dive into the next story or distract yourself with something else, like jumping into the next relationship just after you broke up. Denying the fact that something is over doesn't change the fact that it is. It only prolongs the feeling of emptiness. Sometimes all you have to do is sit with those feelings, actually feel them, and acknowledge their existence, and then see what happens. When I finished watching Ladybird, or any great movie that I resonated with, I normally like to give myself some time to sit with the sadness, to sit with whatever feeling it is that movie left on me, and to have that impact last a little bit longer. I normally start a new movie like in a week or two, just so I can really process what I just saw, what I felt, and maybe there's even something that now I want to do after watching this movie. And in this way, I also believe we honor the creators of those stories that we fell in love with, because they spent hours and hours and hours of creating this world that we connected so much with. I believe that finding closure after finishing a story that has deeply touched us is crucial, and that process can look however you want. Sometimes I like to rewatch an entire show, or I just dive back into one specific moment that I really liked. Maybe I read the book to the story, or I dive into the behind the scenes just to understand the creative process better. In this way, I find peace in the fact that the story has ended, but I also honor the impact it had on me, and I also honor all the work it took to create this piece of art. One thing I've learned is that yes, rewatching can be a great way to find closure and to maybe see the story in a new light, but it's important to do it for the right reasons. While rewatching can give you a way to maybe deepen your appreciation for that story, or maybe notice things that you missed on the first time or second time or third time, it can also be a way to avoid having to move on and to just stay in this familiar world because it's comforting. As with all things in life, balance is the key. I took my time to let the story settle and asked myself, why did it resonate so much with me? Was it the coming of age struggle? Was it the search for identity, or the desire to be seen? It was the way the story was made that made me confront my own experiences and my own doubts. In this way, that reflection helped me find closure, because I saw parts of myself that I hadn't seen before. Eventually, when I was ready, I found something new that impacted me in a different way. It wasn't about replacing the other show, it was recognizing that while one chapter might be over, there's countless other stories that will impact me in new and different ways. The key is in honoring what you've just experienced without rushing to replace it. Give yourself the space to grieve, but the permission to move on.